All right, hear me out, guys. Graphics cards.
You serious?
No, but really what we are actually doing here today is taking a look at some of the PC parts that are actually a good deal and that you can and maybe even should buy while the prices are trending down. Simple yet stylish, the Be Quiet Dark Power 12 is everything you need in a high-end power supply. Fully modular and featuring a frameless Silent Wings fan, the Dark Power 12 achieves the highest 80+ titanium efficiency rating. And they even provide you an easy way to enable the single rail performance mode with the flip of a switch. Rest easy with Be Quiet's 10-year warranty and enjoy some of the most efficient and reliable power delivery in the industry with the Dark Power 12. Check out the link below to learn more. Yes, prices continue to kind of be a runaway train, unfortunately, and the availability of a lot of desirable components is still almost at zero. However, here at BPS Customs, we soldier on and continue to bring you that PC tech related content. So if you don't want to miss out on any of it, make sure you head down below, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and also that notification icon. Consider following me on Twitter at BPS_Customs, and I, in return, promise to be right here for you guys every week with new videos. So what exactly are we looking at here today? Are we trying to find the absolute cheapest components on the market? Are we trying to find stuff that's just in stock? Are we looking at inexpensive, probably poorly performing parts? No to all of that. We are looking at stuff that is a bargain relative to the prices they have been historically. And instead of, as a lot of GPUs and CPUs are, trending up, we are trying to find stuff that's actually trending down and is becoming a really good deal for consumers. Now, what I tried to do was focus on parts that I still consider to be quality components. I don't want you guys going out and buying stuff that's just crap for the sole reason that it's cheap. I've kind of discovered in my journey through life that if you're gonna buy something, it's worth spending a little bit extra money and getting a quality part rather than have to spend that money twice. So in the interest of that, I'm not gonna lead you guys astray here. These are all components that I would personally recommend. I have used, I'd say, probably most of them at one point or another, although I can't say that I've had hands on every single one. What I did was I put in some research across multiple sites. PC Part Picker, of course, is a very useful tool for doing this kind of deep dive, and I found some stuff that I think is actually a quote-unquote good deal right now, especially versus the prices that they were a few months or a year ago. Now, before we get started, just keep in mind, both Intel and AMD for their next generation of parts is likely to release a new socket that is compatible with DDR5 memory. So if you're trying to buy something right now with the outlook of improving on it in the future, that might not actually be possible. However, that doesn't mean that it's not going to be usable or worthwhile to buy. There are still plenty of components that came out 5 or 6 years ago that provide a great computing and or gaming experience for an end user, and you shouldn't be afraid to buy something that's a generation old if it fits your needs. With that in mind, let's head over and take a look at our first product, and that's the Intel i7-10700K. Probably the most useful tool on this site is the price history graph at the bottom of the page. Now, what this graph will do is it will highlight the lowest price that you can get a component for at any given time. And if we go back to December of last year, you can see that the 10700K was trending in the 320 to 350 range. And as we scroll across, you can see that highlighted number get lower and lower and lower. And right now, the lowest price that it's listed for is $314. Now, keep in mind, this is a 9900K in disguise. It's 8 cores and 8 threads. I recently used it in a build on the channel. It is still a beast of a gaming processor. It actually provides really good value for $314 right now, considering that the comparable AMD part, which would be the 5800X, is going for $500 plus on the open market. Okay, I just did a quick search, and the 5800X is not quite $500, but it's about $450. And right now you can get this processor for $314 versus its launch price of about $400. That seems to be a really good deal, and I would definitely recommend it if you're looking to game and or do some decent content creation. This is a really good chip for Adobe Suite applications, and you're going to get really good performance for probably a long time here. Moving over to the sibling of the 10700K, the 10600K. This again is a generation old. However, considering that in February it was $254 and now it's $213, that seems like a really good bargain for a 6-core, 6-thread, 4.1 gigahertz all-core chip that honestly you could probably still use for content creation if you really wanted to and not really suffer all that badly. This again is a really good gaming chip, and at $213, it really undercuts what the Ryzen 5 5600X is going for right now, which is about $300 if you can find them actually in stock. But we will need to cool both of these processors, so I have a couple of really good bargains on CPU all-in-one liquid coolers. The first one is actually something that I would call cheap. This is the Cooler Master Master Liquid ML240L. Now this is a more budget oriented cooler, but it is still a 240mm AIO. And to be honest with you, it's probably going to be sufficient for either of those Intel chips that we talked about earlier. Maybe for the i7 you might want something a little bit beefier, especially if you're overclocking. But to be honest with you, most people don't, and a 240 would be just fine. You could see in February these were trending at $74, and as we scroll down here, prices go down, 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 and now we're at $49.99, $50 for a 240mm all-in-one liquid cooler from a reputable brand. That seems like an absolute steal. And if you're interested in any of the parts that we talk about here, I'm going to leave a link down below to their Amazon page. However, just know that you can go over here to PC Part Picker and find the lowest price listed at Newegg, B&H, Best Buy, Walmart, all that stuff. PCPartPicker.com, and just look up the parts that you are looking for, and you could find these same kinds of listings. Moving over to, let's call it a higher end cooler, the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2280. Now, Arctic over the past year or two has really pushed the industry forward with lower prices on really high performing coolers. Their 360mm all-in-one is at the top of most charts, and the 280 is not far behind when it comes to cooling capacity. Now you can see here back in February these were $124. Now these are only $114. Now Arctic has suffered a little bit with product availability. It's been out of stock quite a bit, but right now it is in stock at Newegg, $114. And for the cooling capacity you get with this unit, I would definitely say it is a buy. However, when it comes to motherboards, I did struggle to find products that I would consider to be deals. There are a lot of lower priced boards out there that probably won't give you the performance that you would get with even a mid-range product, and might even have reliability issues and or thermal issues due to lack of proper cooling and power delivery. This is not one of those boards. However, you can see that even though we're talking about a price trend that starts at $180 and ends at $163, this isn't the super budget product. The ROG Strix B550A gaming for AMD, unfortunately, we can't combo this with the 10600 to 10700K, is a really quality product. I've used it in builds before. It looks great. It's got a white and silver aesthetic going on. I've had no problems putting basically any AMD AM4 processor in here. It runs great. However, you're still paying $163, so this isn't in the super budget range. You can get an AM4 board for around $100. However, the longevity of that board and the performance you're going to get is probably going to suffer compared to something like this. And I would recommend, if you're going with a Ryzen 5 processor or better, consider spending a little bit extra on your board. You're going to get a lot more out of it than these super budget products. Again, though, this is a good deal compared to where it was just a few months ago. The price has come down from $180 to $163, and you're not going to be sorry that you bought this, especially if you're looking for that kind of white silver aesthetic to go in your build and match with the rest of your components. Let's talk about storage. A lot of storage and memory, unfortunately, have been trending up. They kind of hit a historic low last year, and ever since then there seems to almost be kind of a price correction as manufacturers realize that what they were charging for those flash modules is probably way too cheap. Plus, we had a couple of factory shutdowns for various reasons. Supply was a little bit constrained, and as a result, prices have risen back up. However, there are still some deals to be had. The Samsung 970 EVO Plus 1TB drive just back last year was $199. And as you can see, this trend line goes down, 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 and we are at $149.90. Now, can you get a 1TB NVMe for less than $149? Yes. Can you get the performance of this drive at $149 from a different product? Maybe. This is an extremely fast Gen 3 drive, and I would definitely recommend it for reliability and speed. A lot of people, when they think of NVMe SSDs, think of Samsung, and there is a reason for it. These are really good drives, and as you can see, the price history has trended down as opposed to a lot of other drives which are trending in the other direction. Now, I know a lot of you guys have moved away from using spinning platter storage in your builds. I personally have too, although I have a couple 14TB drives in my editing system because I need just that volume of storage. And similarly, if you guys have a lot of games in your Steam library that you want to have access to all the time and you need somewhere to put them, this is probably the cheapest way to get that storage capacity in your system. It's a 2TB Western Digital drive, and just maybe a year ago or so, the 1TB version of this same hard drive was this price, $49.99. And you could see that, you know, last year these were $57 and then up to $59, and now we're trending down and we're at $50 even. To be honest, I very much doubt if you're going to see prices go any lower than this for a 2TB hard drive. I just don't know how companies can make money selling it for less than that. There are certainly manufacturing costs here, and Western Digital Blue is probably the most popular kind of spinning disk. So if you're looking for this mass storage option, this is a really good reason to upgrade. The prices are reasonable, these drives are available, and you could put all your games in your system at once for $50. Seems like a decent deal to me. Power supplies are another item that suffer when mining booms because a lot of miners need the higher end power supplies to power the graphics cards in their rigs. The lower end units then trend up as a result, at least most of them do. This is one of the exceptions, the EVGA Supernova GA650. This is 80 plus gold rated, fully modular power supply from a very reputable brand and one that I recommend highly. And as you can see here, earlier this year, $114, now $79.99. The price trend is heading in the right direction. These are available at multiple sites, and 650 watts is what I would recommend for most people right now. I think with the higher end graphics cards, you will probably need something like our next power supply, the Seasonic Focus Gold 750 watt unit. It's only semi-modular. However, I don't find it to be a huge problem if only my 24 pin and my EPS cables are firmly attached to the unit. You need those anyway. So this is, again, a very, very reputable brand. Seasonic is probably the industry standard at this point. 80 plus gold rated. Again, prices trending way down. These were $115, $119 earlier this year, and now you can pick them up for $80. So these are really good units, and again, 650 watts is a good number for a mid-range system, 750 watts for newer, higher-end systems using higher power draw graphics cards like RTX 3080, if you can find one of those. And 750 watts also gives you a lot of expandability and flexibility moving forward. Let's move on to our last category, which is cases. Cases suffered a lot from the tariffs imposed in the United States over the past couple of years. Prices typically went up maybe 25% overall. And after that, we had the supply constraints, considering a lot of factories in China shut down due to the global pandemic. So finding cases that were actually trending down in price was pretty difficult, especially good cases. I don't want to just throw garbage on the screen here. Cooler Master's Master Case H500A RGB is the successor to their H500P and H500M, and it is the more budget-focused version of that same case. It provides good airflow, a good amount of room inside. It's not the flashiest thing. It does have the two 200mm RGB fans at the front. However, there's not a whole lot of extra stuff going on with this case. It's pretty basic, but it is a mid-tower design at a fairly budget price from, again, a reputable manufacturer. And you can see that earlier this year, these were $118, and then now you can get them for 84 bucks. So this is a good buy that, again, is on the downward trend and could be something that you could use for a long time. The next case that I found was the Be Quiet Pure Base 600. Again, look at the prices from last year, and while we had a little bit of dip to 94 bucks last June, for the most part, all of last year and into this year, this case was 110 bucks. And then all of a sudden, boom, $94.90. Again, this is not going to be your flashiest solution. It's not going to be the most feature rich, but it is a really solid ATX mid-tower design with good storage capacity and, again, a solid name behind it in Be Quiet. And it is something that you could use for a long time for builds for, 10, 12 years if you really want to. So how is the outlook overall? Are we pleased with where the market is going or not? Well, I'll be honest with you, I had to kind of dig for these deals. I had to go through a lot of product listings to try to find ones that I consider to be both good products and listed at a reasonable price. Now, does that mean there are no other deals out there? Of course not. I'm sure you guys can do some research and find some other products that are worth buying right now. But unfortunately, the main silicon in the industry is still going to be overpriced for a long time. So like I mentioned earlier, just keep in mind, if you're buying one of these Intel processors or the B550 motherboard that we featured, that stuff, unfortunately, is going to go away with the next generation. You're not going to have the support that you would have previously, where you had multiple generations on the LGA 1200 socket or multiple generations on the AM4 socket. Both Intel and AMD are about to introduce new platforms with new memory standards. It's one of the reasons that I didn't feature any DDR4 on this list. First of all, prices of DDR4 across the board are just going up. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to use it with the next generation of platforms. So if you go out and buy yourself a whole bunch of DDR4 right now, you can't use it if you plan on transferring that to your new build later this year or early next year or whenever this stuff happens to come out. With that being said, though, I encourage you guys to go out and do your own research and find your own components that fit this bill. Look at historical price trends, see where they're going, and try to figure out what might be a deal at any given point. Just keep this in mind. I hear so many people talking about how they need the latest and greatest components. They need a 5950X and an RTX 3080 to play their games. Let me fill you in on something. You don't need that. The vast majority of gamers out there would be perfectly set with a platform that's a couple of years old and a graphics card that's from the 10 series. There is almost no reason to upgrade for 90% of people. It's this frenzy that's developed around these new products that has caused people to think that they need it when it's really just a want. It's just a desire. Evaluate your situation and understand where your needs lie. If you need an RTX 3090 for 4K gaming and heavy video production and After Effects, okay, but I would venture to say that the amount of people that applies to is minimal compared to the people that just want to play Minecraft. So evaluate your needs, do your research, go shopping, find those deals, and buy what suits you. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Get subscribed if you are not already, and I will see you next time.